The Elden Ring community, and really the Souls community in general, has always been divided between people who play purely for PvE and the so-called try-hard invaders. Not always, of course, but under certain circumstances, PvE players tend to play the victim quite a bit whenever they complain about the evil red men. However, a few weeks ago, I came across someone who, while I don't think could really be considered part of the casual side of the fandom, might genuinely be one of the most hypocritical people I've seen. And in my opinion, he's exactly the kind of person who is slowly digging this game's grave and killing it from the ground up. If I'm not mistaken, this whole thing started with the video I borrowed the title from, the one problem that still plagues Elden Ring PvP and Red Invaders. I'll be honest, the moment I read the title, the Red Invaders part immediately raised a few red flags for me. I had already seen Cosmos playing in the Elden Ring Coliseums through his YouTube shorts, and he even hosted his own fight clubs, so I assumed he was already pretty familiar with the PvP and invasion side of the game. Which is why I was pretty surprised when I watched the video. Pretty much right at the beginning, in this weirdly pretentious and ridiculous way, he talks about an invasion where, after invading and killing the host's friend Phantom, he basically ignores that part entirely and instead claims that Blade of Maya was the one who did all of this, accusing Maya of killing both players. Except that's not really what happened. According to Blade of Maya, those two players had been doing something plenty of hosts like to do, turning the taunter's tongue on and off so that, once someone invades, another invader can't come in to help. But as Blade of Maya explained in a comment under Stielovsky's video, he actually got a really good spawn during that invasion, right around the Revenant's area. So yeah, apparently, Cosmos lives in a completely different reality, fueled entirely by his own magical inventions. He also says something along the lines of those players being food on the menu. Pray for that hellish hyena. Here, let me show you the clip.
Term that will be referred to as PvP predation. In other words, the host and his little bro were the food on the menu. Basically pray for this hellish hyena. And PvP predation does not mean one faction is to be blamed. It's not only the rich that are preying upon the weak. There are many scenarios where it can happen both ways.
I also find it pretty funny that he calls invaders predators, because, as far as I understand it, in every official version of these games, so obviously excluding mods like Seamless Co-op, from Dark Souls 1 all the way to Elden Ring, the invader is generally the one at a disadvantage, whether that's because of the number of flasks they can use to heal or restore FP, or simply because of how many players they have to fight. And Elden Ring makes this even more obvious with the classic 3 versus 1 that have basically become the standard invasion experience. So calling Maya tryhard or referring to him, Steel, Waifu, and G9 as tryhard predators makes no sense to me. I mean, you are playing the game. You are invading. And your objective as an invader is to win the invasion, not to just sit there and let the other players beat you. Now, I won't deny one thing, and I think Cosmos himself mentions this either somewhere in this video or in another one. Elden Ring doesn't really give us a gameplay-related reason to invade. There are no covenants giving us unique items or rewards to encourage invasions or anything like that. At least for me, invasions are simply one of the parts of Souls games that I find entertaining. And if I enjoy them, plenty of other people obviously do too. That does not mean we're preying on regular players. Of course we're not. It's not like we're personally handpicking who we're going to invade and kill next. And besides, if we're going to talk about tryhards, some people probably wouldn't consider this tryharding, but man, what a boring way to play. And from what I've seen, it's pretty rare for him to even switch weapons. And to wrap up this first Cosmos video, there's one last thing I find especially funny. His solution to the bullying caused by those evil, strong, big red men is to become a blue bully against the invaders instead. And remember, this applies to both sides, players who are genuinely good at PvP are the exception, not the rule. It's not like every invader is some incredible player who wins every single invasion they enter. So how exactly are you planning to solve bullying with even more bullying? It's just stupid. The next video on the table is one that caught my attention a little bit. I found the topic he wanted to talk about pretty curious. The video in question is, was Queen Marika really that thick? And just like in all of his videos, he pulls off some absolutely insane mental gymnastics here too. To make a long story short, no, she isn't. If you're the kind of player who has at least mastered the incredibly difficult skill of paying attention to the game you're playing, I think you probably realized from your very first playthrough that Marika isn't exactly the MILF everyone wishes she was. As much as our beloved Ryan Rios blessed our eyes with that legendary Marika design, apparently Cosmos is either a little afraid of porn involving fictional characters, or maybe he's just afraid of hot women in general, and for some reason, he always has to find some way to talk shit about invaders. Just because, why not, I guess. There is no correlation whatsoever with the topic of the video. And let's not even mention the fact that he can't seem to keep waifu out of his mouth. Same goes for G9 and Stilovsky. If you missed it, you can actually see Marika 3 times in the game. Twice during the opening intro, and once before the fight against Radagon. The next video we're going to look at is this one right here. Right off the bat, he shows a duel he had in the Den maps, a mod commonly used alongside Seamless Cop for exactly that purpose, having duels.
Sif, who appears to be like a very pro player because he's using the fist weapons and the way he moves. Like, he's not your average players, and mostly on PC players are OP. Like, they understand the PvP mechanics, they know how to play, but he's very latent to me. You can see his ping there is 200, above 200, not optimal for playing, but for me I can handle this, and for him apparently he knows. But then something happens to him, something very weird happens to this player as soon as he knows that he cannot win this. He starts acting weird, he starts losing it, he starts getting absolutely blasted. So I'm gonna leave you guys with what happens with him, then try to understand.
First, he starts by talking about how the other player is such a pro player. Then, I guess, he starts making fun of the idea that he wanted to leave the duel. And honestly, I do not blame him. With that kind of latency between the two of them, playing like that looks absolutely disgusting.
The way I'm playing Haldag is the way everyone should play Haldag, and I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but as you can see, the pressure I maintain against this fist player is highly insane.
Just look at all that pressure I'm putting on this player. And I mean that with the biggest quotation marks imaginable. Apparently staying more than 4 meters away from someone now counts as pressure.
And sometimes you gotta switch up to a main hand halberd just to have some hyper armor. But the PC community really did this to me. They tried to sever out, and I know it's just one player, but there's like 10 players on this.
There is absolutely no correlation between what he was saying about the halberd and the next point he somehow connects it to. And then he complains because the other player wanted to leave the invasion because the latency was awful. And the guy himself explicitly says exactly that in a comment under this very video. Just imagine this. You're someone from, let's say, the United States or Mexico, and you have to fight someone from Qatar, practically on the other side of the world. The latency between those two players isn't just going to be bad, it's going to be horrendous. And I genuinely don't think you should judge someone because they don't want to keep playing when the latency between you and them makes the fight uncomfortable and unfair, and when the phantom range on attacks becomes an absolute pain in the ass. But Cosmos decides to show us his true colors with his response to that comment. For some reason, later in the same video, he starts hating on the Dustbloods because apparently it's going to take part of the fanbase over to Nintendo Switch 2 just so they can play it. I'll just let him explain it himself.
We have some serious issues going on in the PvP community right now because, as you know, Dustbloods is on the horizon and there is too much anticipation for this game. It's probably gonna shift so many players from the Elden Ring community, from the current active players, to Switch 2 console. Unfortunately, I hate this game, guys. I really hope this game flops because we don't want to see another PvP/VE type games. We want the full experience. The community should know that we all want the full experience, like Elden Ring, like Sekiro, like a full title game, bro. We don't want a multiplayer Call of Duty type Souls games anymore.
Whether we're talking about PC or consoles, I seriously doubt the Duskbloods is going to steal that much of Elden Ring's PvP player base. Since the Duskbloods is an exclusive, I don't think there are that many people desperate enough to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 just for one game. But anything can happen. Time will eventually prove if Cosmos is right or not. We won't really know until the Duskbloods actually comes out.
Not everyone is gonna own Switch 2 to play Duskbloods. That's another issue. The console is too much expensive, I think. You got online subscriptions, you got controllers, you got the game, you got the Switch 2. And on top of that, bro, you have to play Mario after you finish Duskbloods. That's a whole different type of self-impaled situation,
Bro, your main platform is a PlayStation 5. That's also an expensive console, and I'd even argue it's more expensive than a Nintendo Switch 2. You also need to pay for a subscription to play online. The Nintendo Switch 2 already comes with its controllers, the Joy-Cons, and even an adapter to turn them into a more traditional controller. And the PlayStation 5 also already comes with its controller in the box. Also, what the hell does Mario Bros have to do with any of this? Are you mad because you never got to play Mario when you were a kid? That's like someone telling you after you're done playing Bloodborne on your PlayStation, you're now required to go play The Last of Us. I swear my brain is melting more and more with every single thing I hear this creature say. And the rest of the video is basically just him stalking two people he's already included in previous videos, like Blade of Maya and Stilovsky, because apparently Cosmos loves keeping track of absolutely everything that has anything to do, or used to have anything to do, with him just to see whether they're still talking about his irrelevance. And now, the final video before my sanity starts rapidly declining and I disappear from YouTube again for another 6 months is serious Elden Ring news. Tarnished Edition Sad State of G9 Rustbucket Stilovsky, Tall and Luber. I swear, this guy just cannot get G9 and Stilovsky out of his head. He's completely in love with them. But unfortunately, Cosmos, I have some bad news for you. They both have girlfriends, so I don't think you really have much of a chance with either of them. When he starts talking about G9, one of the things he brings up is how few views some of his videos get. But seriously though, where do you get the balls to criticize someone else's low view count when your own numbers are even worse and your only way of gaining relevance is by talking shit about other people? That doesn't apply to me, of course. I'm just exposing this clown.
But Cosmos, you have no views. You get 100 views, bro. You are just a lousy hater. He's better than you.
Well, dude, you gotta chill out. It's quite logical for G9 to outperform me in terms of PvP or invasion videos because that's his total channel. That's his theme, and he's been doing this for a long time, longer than me. But my other videos outperform G9, so that's that. Plus, I don't even understand why guys think it's always a competition when you want to have an opinion on things on other people or other channels. It's not a competition, bro. But since we're cool, you can actually explain to me why you think this G9 perspective on his lower views is actually true or false.
Then he goes on to say that some of his videos outperform G9's, and the only example he shows is one video with 7.9 thousand views. If that's the standard we're going by, then I could also tell you that my content performs better than yours and show you my one video that reached 14,000 views. I know that's not actually true. Sometimes we just need to be humble enough to admit that we got a small stroke of luck and one of our videos happened to perform particularly well. And then, immediately after bragging about how his content supposedly outperforms G9's, he says that it isn't a competition. And he's right, it isn't. But it sure as hell seems like he thinks it is. It feels like he desperately needs to discredit other content creators so he can place himself above them. And whenever that doesn't work, He plays the victim and goes, "You understand, they and their mobs are attacking me because I tell the truth and they don't want to accept it."
I'm running away!
It's me, no! What you talking about?
Come over here!
No!
It's just a game!
No, it's not a game!
No need to be swearing!
They will see me!
It's not like you running from your
That
death!
chat will see me, man! I cannot
That's
handle
real.
any loss!
I swear!
No, bro! I need to win! I need to win! I need to win!
You worthless piece of garbage. You worthless piece of garbage.
Honestly, I do not want to keep watching this anymore. It's basically just watching someone pathetically convince himself that he's superior to other people because he managed to win in a situation where he already had the advantage. And on top of that, the clip I just showed you, which is the same clip he used in his own video, has his usual little performances that, honestly, make me cringe so badly I can barely sit through them. It genuinely get on my nerves. And on top of that, I'd say I'm about 90% sure that Stilovsky's voice was edited over the clip afterward, and very likely taken out of context as well. And while he was going through Rustbucket's channel, don't ask me why, he once again brought up his greatest obsessions, Stilovsky, G9, Blade of Maya, and himself.
You can find channels like Stilovsky, G9, Cosmos, the Elden Dad, Blade of Gaga, and there's a lot many PvP channels that you can actually watch.
And I think that's pretty much everything for today's video. Honestly, I reached my limit while watching these clips. I got to a point where I genuinely didn't even want to keep writing this script anymore, because the more Cosmos videos I watched, the worse I felt, and the more I just wanted to close them. In my opinion, none of this makes any sense whatsoever. I also think he comes across as an incredibly petty person. And that's exactly the kind of behavior we should avoid replicating within the community. If you'd like to support me, so I can recover at least a tiny bit of my sanity, feel free to check out my Patreon. And hey, if you can afford it, why not throw a donation my way? On Patreon, I usually post progress updates on upcoming videos, as well as the occasional illustration I commission of my OC, in case you'd like to check those out too. And if you don't mind, I'd really appreciate it if you checked out my Instagram and my Twitter. I don't post there that often, but I'd be really happy to see some of you over there. I usually share memes on my Instagram stories, and if enough of you start following me there, I might post a little more often. And of course, if you'd rather support me right here on YouTube, leaving a like, a comment, or even subscribing already helps me more than enough, and allows me to keep creating content. And with nothing else left to say, I'll see you in the next video. See ya!